Welcome to Podcasts, recorded live at the Center for Spiritual Living in Portland, Oregon. We have many programs, classes, and workshops developed just for our online audience. To find out more, go to our website at cslportland.org and look under the Online tab. Our mission is to open hearts, ignite minds, and make a difference. If you'd like to support our center and its video podcast, you can donate online at cslportland.org/donate. Allow us to become part of your extended spiritual community. Wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are most welcome at the Center for Spiritual Living.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. We're going to, if everybody wants to stand, if you're able and want to, we are going to sing our opening song called Thank You for This Day.
For this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful 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 day.
Indeed, a beautiful morning. There's actually even a little bit of blue sky and sun as I walked in here this morning. So I always give thanks for that. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Portland Center for Spiritual Living. Thank you for being here with us this morning. If you're new or relatively new or forgot what we do around here, because maybe it's been a while, we are a spiritual community that teaches what we say in our name, spiritual living, those principles of spirituality that help us be a beneficial presence in our own lives, for our families, for our neighbors, and for our world. That's what we're about here. That's what we try to be about. That's our purpose and our vision, a world that works for everyone. So everything we do is geared to bringing that more and more to full or realization in the world. So thank you for being part of that. We have a great service in store for you today. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our licensed practitioner, Nancy, to get us started with some announcements and then prayer and a little bit of silence.
Good morning. Are we on? My name is Nancy Ashley, licensed practitioner here. My pronouns are she and her, and it is my honor to welcome you all here today. If there's anyone new in the sanctuary, please be aware that there are welcome packets by the door, and if you didn't get one yet, grab it on the way out. And for our virtual community, all of the information is online at our website, cslportland.org, under the About Us menu tab. Both contain information about who we are, what we stand for, and how we might serve you. So on our website, you can sign up for weekly emails that detail our events, register for classes, and even get a free gift on your birthday, which is a free session with a licensed practitioner. We have a lot of things going on, and almost everything's in your program. So if you have your program, you can follow through with this. Wednesday evening, we have our regular meditation service at 7 o'clock on Wednesday, and this week it is hosted by Ann Forrest Burns with the title Rise Up, O My Soul, which I think is from a song. Anyway, the Wednesday meditations are always great. We also have something special coming up on Friday of this week, which is the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. And this this is in your program also, 7 o'clock, and it's going to be here in the sanctuary and on hybrid. So you can join us through the Zoom meeting then. Sean will be doing his handpan music, which many of you have heard before. LaRonda will be here doing some music, and then Catherine Richer will also be sharing some spiritual part of this. We also have some classes coming up. Foundations is the certificated class, and it is open starting on January 7th for 11 weeks on Tuesdays. This is being facilitated by Reverend Bridget, by Reverend Marilyn, and then with TAs Donna Wallace and myself. So we've got the materials already. If you're ready to sign up, time to get going here. Lots of materials in there. There are no prerequisites for this, so anybody can sign up for it. And, you know, if you haven't done it in a few years, I've done it 3 or 4 times, but you know what? They changed it. So this will be the first time that I'm doing it with the new format. So if you did it 6 or 8 years ago, it's all new now, so you could do it again. We also have the treatment and meditation, spiritual practices for daily living. And again, this spiritual practices for daily living was a class that's been around for years, but it's also updated, treatment and meditation. And this is a class that is starting January 9th on Thursdays for 10 weeks. And it is facilitated by Reverend Marilyn Sprague and Kate Barrett, practitioner emerita, with teaching assistant Nadine Mahler. So these are all things that are coming up for your edification. We have licensed practitioners Nadine Moeller, who's on high watch here in the sanctuary, and Doc Wilson is covering on the in the virtual community, holding high watch, holding a sacred container of consciousness in the sanctuary and for our virtual spiritual community. Our special music today is very special. We have Ta-da! Jim Solberg, who's with us. Who's always with us, but we are featuring him today. And if you read the email that came out, or maybe, no, I think it's only on the email, that tells all the things that Jim has been doing as a musician. Oh, no, it is in the program here. He's done an amazing amount of stuff, considering how young he is, you know. So welcome, Jim. And then, of course, we have our regular CSL singers with us today, Kristen and Paulette, yes. So thank you for joining us with that. But we're delighted to have Jim featured today. We also have flowers. These are the same flowers that have been here for the month, and this is by Diana Ness, who brought these in for the month. And we're very happy to have the beautiful arrangement there. Our message, of course, is by our own Reverend Bridget, and the topic, this is a follow-up from last week, which was Rising the Christ Consciousness, and she did part 1 last week, so we're going to get the follow-up, part 2, Being the Light. So once we are in the light, then we can be the light and bring it out for. So sit back and relax, because we know that somewhere between the music, the meditation, and the message is exactly what your heart came to receive.
Let's all take a big breath and relax into our meditation time.
I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. Inside there is peace, inside there is joy, inside there is more than enough. Inside there is peace, inside there is joy, inside there is sacred love. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. I will leave this world as it is, go inside to find my God. Go inside to find my God. Go inside to find my God.
And as we go inside, we know that within is the infinite, eternal presence of Spirit, always available in, through, and as everything, every part of the universe. It is the love and wisdom of all. It is that wholeness and unity that brings us all together. It is the abundance of love and joy, goodness. All of these qualities are fully present in, through, and as every part of the universe. It is a miraculous event that all of this is available to us always. So I am a unique, individualized expression of that one, and I know that that is true for each one of us here in the sanctuary and in the virtual community, that we are all part of that oneness that is everywhere present. And all of the qualities of God are fully available for us at every moment, always awaiting our expression. And so I claim and affirm for us today that we are being in consciousness, that we are able to go within into that heartfelt spiritual place, knowing that in our hearts we are love, we are joy, we are oneness, and that we are conscious of this when we focus on our hearts. And so I know that as we come together and bring that heartfelt energy into our session today, we know that there is an abundance of consciousness, bringing consciousness to light and being that light, knowing that each one of us has the light within us. It is always available, and it is for our personal edification, and it is also for our sharing with everyone around us to make the world that works for everyone. And so I am so grateful to know this truth, to know that God is in, through, and as each one of us, always available, always present, always awaiting our expression. And so I just give thanks for all of this, and I release my word into the action and activity of the law, knowing that it is already done. I release it, I let it be, and together we say, and so it is. And as we take a few moments now to sit back and relax, to go into that space of meditation, of silence, of knowing the truth of our being, and focusing in on our hearts, knowing the truth.
Good morning. This is a song that Ken Brewer wrote several years ago, and it's a beautiful tune. The lyrics fit the message for today. And actually, it was 100 years ago. He's a very old individual. It's called Remember Who You Are. Sometimes you might get discouraged, might think you've lost your way. Take a little time, take a look inside, and don't forget to pray. Remember who you are. You are a shining star. are the one that God put here to do the things you do. Remember who you are. You've already come so far. You are the light and the love of this world. So remember who you are. We're all here for a reason, though it might not always be clear. Love is the answer. Love is all there is. And Spirit brought us here. So remember who you are. You are a shining star. You are the one that God put here to do the things you do. Remember who you are. You've already come so far. You are the light and the love of this world. So remember who you are. Remember who you are. You are a shining star. You are the one that God put here to do the things you do. So remember who you are. You've already come so far. You are the light and the love of this world. So remember who you are. In all the world, there is no one like you. So remember who you are. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jim, Ken, Don, Paulette, Kristen, thank you. So as Nancy mentioned, we're wrapping up a short series, a two-part series on the rising of the Christ consciousness, and choosing this time of year to do it because of course it being December and we're nearing Christmas, that time when we celebrate the birth of Jesus of Nazareth, and to remember also that Jesus was one of our great teachers, gifted to humanity, what you might call one of our avatars, those people who not only know that they're one with the divine, but they experience it and they live from it to the point where it is everything they do. Jesus not being the only avatar, there are many, many of them, but Jesus was one. We might also think of Krishna and Mohammed and the Buddha as other avatars, or these people who remind us that the Christ consciousness is in us all the time, and we can choose to live from it. And because we also, this time of year, remember when we think about Jesus that he was the example, not the great exception, because Jesus himself taught us that we are the light of the world, that each and every one of us is one with the one Spirit, and that heaven is within. It's not some far-off place that we can't quite locate, but if we're good enough, we'll get there someday. We can get there already because it is within us, and this is what Jesus taught us, as well as many others. As part of this series, last week we looked at preparing the way, how we prepare ourselves and our consciousness and our emotional life and our spiritual life to be or to reveal that Christ consciousness, because after all, we already are the Christ consciousness because we're one with Spirit. We were born with that inside of us. So it's not something we have to attain, but it is something we need to reveal or let rise up and express more of. And last week, we reminded ourselves from our founder, Ernest Holmes, that we must understand that the Christ is not a person, but a principle. As the human gives way to the divine in all people, they become the Christ. So last week we talked about preparing the way. This week we're going to talk about actually being the light in the world, being the Christ consciousness in the world. And this idea that humans are the light of the world, of course, it's not exclusive to Christianity. It's a principle that's alive and well and taught in many faith traditions. The Quakers, this idea that the light lives in us is a huge part of their spirituality. They spend a great deal of time, probably every day, contemplating that they are the light and how to be it. A couple years ago, I was fortunate enough to take a spiritual adventure to Peru, and I learned that in the Inca cosmology, they're teaching that this time right now, when all of us have chosen to be alive, is the end of 500 years of darkness and the dawn of 500 years of light. So we're right here at the cusp of it. In Sufism, the mystical aspect of Islam, they have a lot to say about how the light of Allah, or the one of God, lives in and through us. In Hinduism, they teach about the Atman, which is the God within. And when you combine that with the idea of Dharma, the yoga of right action, it's about being the light. And of course, in Buddhism, the path of finding or revealing more of the Buddha nature that's in all of us. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it or heard it, but I'm hearing more and more spiritual teachers around the world say that there is more light, there is more high consciousness in the world right now than at any other time. Again, when I was in Peru, one of the things we did, it was a spiritual adventure, like I said, and one of the shamans we worked with was Jorge Luis Delgado. And he has committed himself to teaching ancient Inca practices, and he taught us, we were so fortunate to almost daily learn some spiritual practice that's about integrating the light within us so we can turn around and express it into the world. And he teaches these practices to anybody, from anybody or anywhere in the world that's willing to learn because he is committed to there being more and more people shining that light into the world. And we also hear from the mystics among us today and around the world that the reasons there's so much more light in the world today and more light every day is because the collective human consciousness is on a continual upward spiral, so that's the only direction we can go. And as religiosity decreases, spirituality is increasing. People are turning away from the religions of old and the dogmatic, I would say even oppressive rules, but they're not turning away from spirituality. There are more people practicing spiritual principles, more people interested in raising their own consciousness and knowing and living how can I be a more beneficial presence. There are more people doing this every day around the world. And of course, there's more high consciousness in the world as we get a deeper and deeper understanding of our interconnectedness and that, oh, what I do affects everybody and what they do affects me. So I better try to act from my high consciousness. So there is more light in the world. And what are the qualities of this Christ consciousness that we're talking about? Well, we can certainly look to those examples, those avatars such as Jesus, the Buddha, Mohammed, Krishna. We could also look to those great figures that we admire, such as Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Reverend Dr. King, Nelson Mandela, Howard Thurman, Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln, Mother, the Mary of Jesus, Mr. Rogers. Yes, Mr. Rogers, who's spreading that light to our young people. Yogananda, Florence Nightingale, Desmond Tutu, the Dalai Lama. That's my list. I'm sure you could add to that list, and I'm sure if I gave it 5 more minutes or 5 more hours, the list would be much longer. But what do all these people have in common? Kindness, generosity, compassion, and faith. And really, when you look at it, it all goes to that most fundamental rule that we're taught when we're this little, right? The golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Which, by the way, right after God is everywhere and in everybody is probably the second biggest thread in that golden, what do we call it? The golden thread of truth. Every faith tradition teaches this golden rule. Do unto others, right? Because it's so fundamental to our nature and it's so fundamental to the human experience. And of course, because we're celebrating Jesus at this time of year, or at least many of us are, and whether you do or not, you can learn from the man, okay? So Jesus was asked by his disciples, what are the greatest commandments? And of course, the first commandment, according to Jesus, was love God. Love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your might, or all your deeds, all your action. And the second commandment is very much like the first. Love thy neighbor. And then, of course, the disciple asked him, well, that's good. Who's my neighbor? Now, this is when Jesus shares the parable of the Good Samaritan. Most of us have probably heard the story. A Jewish man is robbed, beaten, left by the side of the road, very injured, near death. A priest goes by, does nothing. A Levite goes by. The Levite is like an assistant to the priest. The Levite goes by, does nothing. And the Samaritan goes by, and not only helps the man with his wound, but puts him on his donkey, takes him to an inn, pays for his lodging, and leaves extra money with the innkeeper to pay for this Jewish man's care as he recuperates. Now, all of that is a great lesson in generosity and hospitality and kindness and compassion. But the lesson takes on even more when we remember that at that time, no Jewish person would have thought there's any such thing as a good Samaritan, because the Samaritans and the Jews were bitter enemies. So when we know that, we learn two other qualities of being the Christ consciousness from this Samaritan: forgiveness and courage. That Samaritan could not stop and help the Jewish man if he didn't have forgiveness in his heart towards his so-called enemy, if he hadn't released his hard feelings towards them. And he also could not have been the good Samaritan and helped the Jewish man if he didn't have courage to defy what he had been told his whole life, that the Jews are the enemy. So we've added to kindness and compassion, we've also added courage and forgiveness. And of course, all of this was in the answer to the question, Jesus, who is my neighbor? So in other words, everyone is our neighbor. Nobody should be left out of the circle of our light or our love from the Christ consciousness. And the Samaritan adding forgiveness and courage to our concept of Christ consciousness also illustrates why it's important to do the work that we talked about last week, preparing the way. Why it's important to do our inner work so we can redeem our own souls enough that we have no need to condemn anybody else out of our own inner burdens that we haven't yet healed. The Good Samaritan had obviously done some good work. And because of that, he and each and every one of us can see others as Thomas Merton saw them. Then it was as if I suddenly saw the secret beauty of their hearts, the core of their reality, the person that each one is in the eyes of the divine. If only they could see themselves as they really are. If only we could see each other that way all the time, there would be no more war, no more hatred, no more cruelty, no more greed. That's why we do the inner work, and that's the result of being the light. Now, how do we know if we're acting from the Christ consciousness? You can ask yourself a series of questions. Is it in alignment with the good of the one Spirit? Then it is the light of Christ consciousness. Does it lift up another human being or life or the world in some way? Then it is the light of the Christ consciousness. Is it accompanied by a sense of inner knowing and peace? Then it is the light of the Christ consciousness. And you can rest assured it is the right thing to do, even if it's not what others would have you do. And as we're doing this, we can remember that it all matters. Every little tiny bit of ray of light matters. We don't need to compare what we're doing to what anybody else is doing. We are not less than because we are not King or Gandhi or Nelson or Mother Teresa. As J.R.R. Tolkien wrote, I have found that it is the small everyday deed of ordinary folks that keep the darkness at bay, small acts of kindness and love. And that's because, of course, God does not love any one person more or less than anybody else. So whether our act of kindness helps one person or 10 people or 50 people or 1,000 people or an entire nation, it's worth doing and it matters. Archbishop Desmond Tutu, do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world. And when we're doing this, shining our light, no matter how small or big it is, and let's just even get rid of those terms, let's just say whenever we're shining our light, we can know that we're not only blessing the receiver, but we ourselves are blessed. The one receiving or feeling the warmth of that light knows they were seen, they were heard, and they matter. Someone cares about them. And we are blessed because it raises our own consciousness. You know, if you look at those 2 commandments from Jesus, love God and love thy neighbor, when you put them together, what you get is, if you love God, you will love your neighbor. And when you're loving your neighbor, you're loving God. The two go together, which is why he said the second is much like the first. And when we do this, it feels so good that we have a bigger and bigger experience of that heaven within. Which may be why our founder Ernest Holmes wrote, when the time comes that nothing goes forth from you other than that which you would be glad to have return, then you will have reached your heaven. Let me read that again, because it is one of my absolute favorite quotes from this man, Ernest Holmes. When the time comes that nothing goes forth from you other than that which you would be glad to have return. In other words, when we are fully realizing and acting from our Christ consciousness, then you will have reached your heaven. You will have been we will be fully in touch with that heaven within. Our Christ consciousness has risen, and that feels really good because we are acting from the most fundamental aspect of who and what we are. Jack Kerouac put it a little more simply. Practice kindness all day to everybody and you will realize you're already in heaven now. Right? This being the light of Christ consciousness, much like preparing the way, is a lifelong endeavor and a daily choice. And we do the two simultaneously. You can prepare the way and be the light at the same time. Because if you think you have to wait until you have arrived, you're never going to arrive, right? I mean, we all know that this spiritual path, this spiritual work that we do, we never fully arrive. So don't wait till you fully arrived. You are the light now. You're already being the light now. I bet every person in here, everybody in our virtual community space, every person listening to this message at some future date knows at least one time, probably hundreds of times, if you could remember every day of your life, when you were already the light. What we're trying to do here is build ourselves up to be it more consistently and to shine it more consistently. So we can start where we're at. We can start where we're at figuratively on the spiritual path, and we can start where we're at quite literally, where we're actually physically located. Whether you're at home, on the streets, at the office, whether you happen to be incarcerated somewhere, whether you're at the dinner table at a holiday meal with your family and friends, wherever you are, wherever we are, we can do this work because unless you're hiding in a cave, you're probably going to interact with other people. And even if you're in the cave, you might interact with other life, and they deserve it as well. And we can also remember that whatever we're doing, we can do more. Not because we're not good enough now, not because what we're already doing doesn't matter, but we can always do more because remember, our power is infinite, our source is infinite, our ability to love is infinite. So we can always do more. We always have more light to shine. It's never depleted. And yes, the world always needs more light. All of this takes commitment to keep going and to keep at this even when other people might tell us, what's the point? It's hopeless. It takes strength to keep going in the face of setbacks. And it takes courage, as the Good Samaritan taught us, because sometimes what we need to do, what we're called to do, might not be the popular thing to do, might not be what society would have us do. And when we have these virtues of commitment, strength, and courage, we can do our most important work, as summed up again by Thomas Merton. Our job is to love others without stopping to inquire whether or not they are worthy. That is not our business, and in fact, it is nobody's business. What we are asked to do is to love, and this love itself will render both ourselves and our neighbors worthy. My friend Linda told me a story that one time she saw an unhoused neighbor and she felt moved to walk into the McDonald's that happened to be right there. And she bought a stack of gift certificates and she gave them to the man. And immediately another woman walked up to her and said, "What are you doing? Why did you do that? You know he's just going to sell those for cash so he can buy alcohol or drugs." And Linda told the woman, "Well, giving is between me and my God. What he does with it is between him and his God." I've remembered that ever since. And all of this, doing this, also takes faith. It takes the kind of faith that remembers that when we shine our light, what we're really doing is shining the light of the one Spirit, because that's what's in us, right? That's our heart and our soul. And what that means is God or Spirit can only do for us and the world what we allow it to do through us. That's the kind of faith we're talking about. Perhaps you've heard the story of the man who's sitting on the curb and he's just so fed up with all the darkness in the world, all the pain and suffering. He's hanging his head, just full of despair and hopelessness. And finally, he just yells out, "God, why don't you do something already?" To which he hears, "I did. I sent you." We are the light. The light is not going to show up in the world if we don't let it. So every little bit of light matters, because, as we know, light is a real thing. Darkness is not even a real thing, because darkness is just the absence of light. But light is a real thing. Light can overcome darkness, but darkness cannot overcome light. So every bit of light matters, because every bit of light lifts up somebody somewhere. And so I end this with a challenge for all of us, and this is a challenge for myself as well, so you can hold me to task on this. The challenge is, every day between now and Christmas, and you could take it longer if you like, every day between now and Christmas, spend a little time each morning in spiritual practice and recommit to being the light that day. Commit yourself to being open to the opportunity to be the light for somebody, to show that kindness, that compassion, that hospitality, that forgiveness, whatever it is, and do at least one act every day that is in alignment with that. And then at the end of the day, write in your journal about it. What you did, for whom, and how it made you feel. And then the last part of this is, don't tell anybody what you've done. Because it's between you and your God. Okay? And just notice what it feels like. So that's our challenge for us. I close with a quote from the Dalai Lama that I think wraps up both preparing the way and being the light. Every day, think as you wake up. Today, I am fortunate to be alive. I have a precious human life. I am not going to waste it. I'm going to use all my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart out to others, to achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all beings. I'm going to have kind thoughts towards others. I am not going to get angry or think badly about others. I am going to benefit others as much as I can. That's our most important work. As Charles Fillmore reminded us last week, we are the second coming of the Christ consciousness. You are the light of the world. Know it, claim it, and be it. So now we get to pray together. I invite our practitioner prayer partners, both here in the sanctuary and in our virtual space, and any ministers who might be amongst us, to rise and to take this prayer into their hearts and consciousness on behalf of all of us. I'm grateful that the one life and the one power and the one presence said, let there be. Let there be a world. Let there be light. Let there be beings made in my image and likeness through which I can do my work. I'm grateful that that same love and power and presence called each one of us forth to be here at this time, in this place, to usher in more light. And I'm grateful that each person within the sound of my voice is committed to being and shining more of that light. And I'm grateful that this is how the world works for everyone. And so with great gratitude, I simply let it go and let it be and know it is, and so it is. So it is. And now I'm also grateful that this is time for our sharing of our gifts, our financial gifts to this community, the spiritual community where we get to remind each other of who and whose we are and what we're about. This community that welcomes all peoples, no matter where they come from, what they might have done, what might have been done to them. As one of my ministers used to say, if you're human, that's how you get in. And special service animals that we also love and embrace. So our ushers have come forward in a moment. They'll pass a basket to accept your gifts that we are so grateful for. Thank you for all your gifts. You can also make contributions and donations online at cslportland.org. Thank you for supporting your spiritual community and family and the good work that we are about. And we're going to accept and bless our offerings with a call and response. I bless these sacred gifts. I bless these sacred gifts. Giving graciously with love. Giving graciously with love. These gifts bless. These gifts bless. Heal and prosper. Heal and prosper. All that they touch. All that they touch. In giving. In giving. I'm grateful to be richly. I'm grateful to be richly. Lavishly. Lavishly. And abundantly blessed. And abundantly blessed. And so it is. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. And our musicians.
Thanks, Rev B. That was awesome. Well, here's a song from Keb Mo, and it fits perfectly, I think. It's called Let Your Light Shine. You say you want to get over what you gonna do. Watch the world go by in a corner all alone. I know it's none of my business. There's something I need to say. If you could see you the way I see you, you start flying on your own. Step outside and let your light shine. Let your love show. It's a short ride down a long road. Rain comes and the winds blow. Let your light shine wherever you go. This world is ready and waiting for you to break on through and to recognize and realize you're the only one like you. Step on up, step into your greatness, and don't you be afraid. There's a place that you can rise up to. No one else can do the things you do. Step outside and let your light shine. Let your love show. It's a short ride down a long road. When the rains come and the winds blow, let your light shine wherever you go. Step outside and let your light shine. Let your love show. It's a short ride down a long road. When the rains come and the winds blow, let your light shine wherever you go. Let your light shine. Let your love show. It's a short ride long road. When the rains come and the winds blow, let your light shine wherever you go. Let your light shine. Thank you. Thanks, Ken Brewer. Kristen, thank you. Don Schultz.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so our giving tree, update on that. All the tags were taken as of last week, and hopefully all the gifts have been brought back. If you have not yet returned the gifts from the giving tree, please reach out and arrange a time to get them here very quickly. And really, next Sunday is the absolute deadline, because that is the 22nd. And for all the little people, they know when Santa Claus comes. And it's not December 26th, okay? So as the elves helping Santa Claus, we need to make sure Santa Claus has all those gifts on time to deliver, okay? All right, and today at about 12:45, those of us who are ready, willing, and able will be out here in the parking lot doing our peace dance in front of our peace pole on video. So if you don't want to be recorded, but because these, we have people, Kathy, around the world probably?
Yeah, it's an international CSL.
Yeah, so our home organization, Centers for Spiritual Living, we're a worldwide organization, so we have communities around the world doing peace dances, sending their videos in, and there's going to be some compilation, some beautiful artists will know how to put those all together into one big video of peace dances. So we're going to make our contribution. All right, so join us for the peace dance. And now, if you are going through any challenge, you need assistance with something, you need to remember the truth about yourself, know that after the service, we'll have some prayer partners here in the front that you can have a short affirmative prayer with. We also, this month, started for our virtual community an online prayer room in Zoom, and I believe the Zoom link for that has been put in the chat or somehow shared with those in our virtual community space, and you can go into that Zoom room and then be put in a private breakout room and have a private prayer with a practitioner online. So know that is available, and that Zoom room will open immediately after the service and stay open for at least 15 minutes or until however long is needed to accommodate everyone wanting prayer. We also have prayer request cards in the back on the table that you can fill out and put in the box there, or you can fill out a prayer request online. And know that all prayer requests are shared with all of our practitioners and ministers, and we pray, we work with that prayer request on your behalf for the next week, and it is our great honor to do so. All right, so now I invite you to stand as you are able for our benediction as call and response. Something wonderful is flowing through me right now.
Something wonderful is flowing through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind.
Life is in my mind.
Life is in my body.
Life is in my body.
Life is in my affairs.
Life is in my affairs.
I think it.
I think it.
I believe it.
I believe it.
I accept it.
I accept it.
I am it.
I am it.
Just the way that I am.
Just the way that I am.
Just the way that I am not.
Just the way that I am not.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And please join our community singers for our final community song.
All right, we'll sing Blessed Always for our final song today.
Blessed always, blessed always, for the arms of God surround us. Let our joy be so triumphant that we rest in God.
We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you happen to be in the Portland, Oregon area, we'd love to have you visit in person. The Portland Center for Spiritual Living is located at 6211 Northeast Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Our inspirational service is at 11 a.m. every Sunday. We also have many programs, classes, and workshops developed just for our online audience. To find out more, go to our website at cslportland.org and look under the Online tab. We have a variety of content dedicated specifically for our podcast listeners. Our mission is to open hearts, ignite minds, and make a difference. If you'd like to support our center and its podcasts, you can donate online at cslportland.org/donate. Our website is also the place to learn more about what's going on at the center or to contact us. Allow us to become part of your extended spiritual community. Wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are most welcome at the Center for Spiritual Living.